All right, guys, it's Spencer Harp here with Sharp Engineering. Just want to give you a little update on our fuel pump situation. We elected to use the stock GSXR 600 fuel pump from the very beginning because of the inability to adjust the fuel pressure on the fly. I know a lot of people have been asking, why don't we just go with an inline fuel pressure regulator and do away with these internal gas tanks pumps. But the biggest reason behind that is because, depending on location and ambient temperature, I can essentially adjust my tune by altering the fuel pressure. Now, it's a small amount, but when you're talking about a spec class, that stuff starts to stack up. So it's just one less thing that the racer has to worry about, and hopefully it continues to just kind of unify the class in the sense that we're on the same stuff. The stock pumps, they work fine straight out of the bike, but I haven't found an aftermarket pump yet that is a reliable piece. Most of the stuff that we're running into are Chinese aftermarket pumps, and 1 out of 5 on average is going to be bad straight out of the box. So what we've decided to do is make our version of essentially a bulletproof pump assembly. This is the stock GSXR 600 pump. It's the same pump that they run on the Hayabusas, the ZX14s, a bunch of different ATVs run this little small baby pump. I'm gonna put it in my hand just so you can kind of see the size. And what happens is over time they get trash in them, you get dirty fuel, or people run them really low on fuel, with like a gallon of fuel to try to get the weight off the car. And without having fuel in the tank, what happens is the plastic veins get hot, and it just destroys them, and then they start losing pressure and losing flow capacity. And so when you do that, the motor starts falling down on the top end. It's not pulling very hard, from 12,000 RPM up, because you're in a lean situation, and these motors don't really like to be super lean. You'll notice it pretty aggressively. So for those of you who've had fuel pump problems, you understand the frustrations that we have, and the need to come up with a solution. So what we've done is we've designed a top piece that goes on the pump. This is a little CNC billet part that basically goes on the top of this housing to allow us to use a different pump. This adapter also takes an off-the-shelf fuel pressure regulator that's a fixed PSI regulator and bolts to the top of it. And this is nice because, again, we're using off-the-shelf components. The cost of this, Rock Auto, I think, is around $35–40. If you go to Advanced Auto Parts, you can pick up this one. Is part number 800-307. But this pump by itself, I don't even have it price on it right here, but I think it was like $98 for the regulator, not pump, excuse me. That's a GP Sourcing regulator. It's a good part, but again, you can get the knockoff version of this, like I said, from Rock Auto for about $40. I haven't had any problems with those. That's still half the cost of an inline fuel pressure regulator. And the biggest thing with this new system is that we're drastically increasing the pump size. So if you look at these two pumps side by side, that's a stock pump for like a 92 to 95 Honda Civic. They make aftermarket Walbro pumps, the same dimensions. So we've got a lot of options for this, and one of the biggest advantages is you can buy them with a warranty, and there's a part number for a replacement pump that you can go and pick up off the shelf at your local auto parts store. You don't have to wait to get it in. You don't have to wait on me to ship one. As long as you've got this block, we can assemble this pump in such a way to where it's a lot more robust and bulletproof. I'll take some pictures of before and after and show you how this thing goes together. But for right now, I just want to kind of give you an update and let you know that we came up with a solution. These are going to production this week. We've made a handful here just for a couple of guys to test. And so far, they work phenomenally. Thanks. Back at it. Looking at the stock pump again, just kind of a follow-up to our previous video. That's the stock pump housing. It's got all this plastic on it. It's got the internal regulator there. Excuse the blood. I cut myself messing with these pumps. But anyway, we'll get that off. Okay. Anyway, that's the stock pump housing. To dismantle that, you've got a screw here and a screw on this side and that screw there. You take that off and this thing all just slides apart. It does require a little bit of force. We have these screens, the pickup screens that go on the bottom of the fuel pump. Let me grab another one out of the package here so you can kind of see it a little better. Anyway, that's the stock pickup screen. Usually that's your primary culprit in fuel pump failure. This screen will get stopped up and it starves the pump. Pump runs hot, melts the vanes, pump goes KO. So anyway, still using the same pickup screen. You can use a larger one. You just got to be careful when you put it in. You can use one out of a Honda Civic or something like that. That's a larger pickup screen. You just got to make sure that when you put it in the tank, you tuck it up into the gas tank so that it's not interfering with the sealing surface on the flange. But this is the assembly of the part that we were looking at earlier. That's the top piece that we were just taking a video of. It's the regulator mounted to it. You'll notice that I trimmed off the 2 tabs for the the factory return line. You don't need that, and it kind of gets in the way when you're putting it in. You can leave them, but you just kind of got to work with the pump to get it into the tank. But the assembly is pretty straightforward. I mean, you use the stock O-rings on the stem. You stick another one of those O-rings on the stem of the pump. We've got a spacer that goes on it. The little block is tapped at the top for M1010 screws that bolt the regulator down. There's a pipe plug that goes in the side here. That's the cross port where we had drilled to gain access to the actual regulator. And then it requires 1 or 2 hose clamps on the body that just straps it to the factory rail. So this is the updated version of this guy. Little CNC part. I haven't got a quote back from them yet or a lead time, but it's looking like we're going to be probably 1 to 2 weeks out before we can ship out any kind of volume of these. And these adapters will work good for guys that have street bikes that run into the same issue, guys that are building street bikes for drag racing. So not just our class, designed and developed for us, by us, but I could see there's a lot of other applications for turbo guys that are wanting to do turbo builds on their Boosas or GSXR 600s. But that's it. That's the final product. If you guys have any questions, feel free to give us a call at 912-388-0390 or shoot us an email at sales@sharpenglllc.com. That's sales@sharpenglllc.com. Thank y'all for tuning in.